everyone! This drawing is inspired by Bernadette Benner's Masque of the Red Death ball gown. It is so beautiful that the second I saw the design, I knew I had to draw it. If you for some reason don't know Bernadette yet, she makes wonderfully soothing and wholesome historical sewing videos. She is so dedicated to her craft. Her videos are some of my favorites on all of YouTube. So, in the initial sketching stage, I had a lot of trouble creating an interesting, not too static looking pose. I definitely knew I wanted her to interact with the veil, similar to Bernadette's original drawing of the dress. You can see me flipping the canvas back and forth about 1,000,000 times, which is very annoying to look at when sped up, so I'm trying to do less of it when recording. I do this to sort of refresh my view of the drawing so that mistakes in anatomy and composition are a lot easier to spot. When the sketch is done, I set the layer to multiply on a low opacity, and I color all of the figure with one base color. This base color helps keep the color palette looking uniform throughout the entire piece, as a little bit will always show through when you paint on top of it. As you can see, I left the veil on a separate layer so that I could use different effects to make it look see-through later on. With the base color fully done, I set the layer to preserve opacity so that I cannot paint outside of the shape that I already colored in. I start coloring and adding some lighting right on that layer. You could also do this by making a new layer and setting it to clipping group above the base color. I prefer working on the same layer because it is a lot easier to blend the colors. Note that my initial coloring and shading is very messy and usually doesn't involve the lightest highlights and the darkest shadows in my palette. This will come later when I detail everything on my final pass. As you can see, I lowered one of her arms off camera. I like the way it looks a lot better. A little later on, I also lower her other hand. As a result, I completely have to redraw the veil, which ends up being a good thing because the veil ends up looking so much better. In my second pass, I detail a lot more of everything I've just colored in. I usually do 3 or 4 passes, or I just spend a lot longer on one pass when I do a fully finished piece, but I intend to keep this one a little bit more messy to save time. My priority was getting the details in the face done. And this is where I changed the other arm as well. I flipped the sketch over one arm and I rotate it to make it fit better. The advantage to having a messy sketch layer is that I don't have to spend a lot of time redoing light art or coloring. I can easily paint on top of what I already have. For the veil, I drew a very thin outline and colored it in with a very low opacity off-white. On a layer above that, I used that same off-white to messily sketch in the lighting on the folds in the fabric. I think this part really shows how much I love Renaissance and Baroque paintings. I blend the highlights on the veil to soften and smooth them a little. For the shadows, and this worked really well with selling the illusion that it is a translucent piece of fabric, I erase certain parts of the white base color and I blend that out. After adding some final details and some effects in Photoshop, the drawing is now done. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.